Wherever you are in the world right now, I want you to quickly stop what you're doing and take a look at the clock. Because you know what time it is. It is used PC parts hunting o'clock with Tech Yes City. We're going to jump in the Tech Yes mobile and go look for some of the best price performance deals money can buy on the used market. But before we do that, we've got to come into this month with a strategy. There are things that I'm particularly looking for, and the main ones being, of course, graphics cards. That has been a trend, I think, through all of 2020, and I don't foresee it stopping anytime soon. If we can find a GPU at a good price, we're going to snap it up. Another thing I'm looking for too is desperately is DDR3 memory, and we're going to probably have to make a separate video on DDR3 memory itself, because what's going on right now is something really bizarre, where the prices of DDR3 memory new are more expensive than DDR4 memory. This is a true thing. And you're probably like me and you're left scratching your head, but we're still going to look for used power supplies as well. And of course, any good one-time deals, whether it's whole systems, OEM systems, we'll go pop up and see Les. But also another thing I've noticed with CPUs and motherboards, I'm not too keen on looking for them because I've already got quite a few motherboards and i5s and things like that. But we're also looking at Ryzen 3 3100 and also an A320, for example, coupled with cheaper new DDR4 memory now. That's definitely bringing a ceiling to the used market in terms of i7 7700s and other CPUs like that, where these things will go more expensive on the used market than a Ryzen 3 3100 would go for on the new market. So there's a bizarre thing happening there, but if you can sift through all that and create better value with your systems, of course, the ultimate goal being a gaming PC, then that's what we're going to be doing here this month. Though speaking of deals, there is no better way to start off a parts hunt than already scoring a deal. And what we've got up first here is a 120 Hertz 27-inch IPS gaming monitor. This is called the Overlord. I believe it's a Korean eBay import, but at 140 Aussie dollars for these specs, 1440p, IPS, 120 Hertz, I think I'm getting an absolute bargain. They wanted 150 for it. I managed to shave off a tenner, but before we go up and pick that up, we're gonna go on good old Gumtree and Facebook and check out what deals they've got. So let the hunt begin. So this might sound a little bit weird, and for me personally it is weird because I've never done a parts hunt like this in this manner, but I started looking high and low through good old Gumtree and Facebook, and we'll get onto that soon. But basically what happened was I was planning to hit up that, put all the offers in, and then go hit up Les in Brisbane. But what happened was someone called me and then another person called me, and I got 2 sales in a row for gaming PCs. So when that happens and a solid offer comes in, I always give that top priority above everything else because you never know when a solid offer will come in again. So that's what happened. But then on top of that, the guy with the monitor, he messaged me and he was like, well, I'm staying out late for dinner. And I was like, okay, then what's going on? He's like, let's make it tomorrow morning. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I can't call up Les too late because I've done this and I've only done this once, and I've rocked up to Les's, like, I think it was close to around 7 p.m. and he was furious. So I know not to do that again to poor old Les. So basically if I called him up at 6 p.m, I'm like, yo, Les, I'm stopping through. He'd basically tell me to foe. So I'm going to call him up tomorrow morning. We're going to hit him up. We'll go hit this monitor up. And hopefully by that time, all these offers that we've put down offers on, they'll get back to us. And we've actually got a heap of good deals here. We'll pull up the first, which is a GTX 1070 Asus Dual. They wanted 350. I put down an offer of 280 Aussie, and I'll put the USD pricing up here for you guys. So at this price point, it's pretty decent. If we can land it for that, it's going to go well in a gaming PC. Then the next offer we found is for a GTX 770 4GB, and obviously being the 4GB model, it carries especially the VRAM. And look guys, I'm not a big believer in the VRAM thing, but trust me, it works. When you're flipping a gaming PC, the GTX 770 off the top of my head should possibly be even faster or just as fast as a 1050 Ti, 4GB, but this is going for 80 Aussie dollars. Now, I put in an offer before this parts hunt even began, I put in an offer for a GTX 1050 Ti for 120 Aussie dollars. And apparently the guy went and sold it for 160 or 150 or something like that. I'm thinking to myself, okay, like 150 Aussie dollars for a 1050 Ti is out of my price point. So this 770 at 4GB actually represents really decent value. So hopefully we'll get that. Next up here, we've got a GTX 960 4GB. We're just trying to shave off a little bit off this. They're actually selling it for a decent price at 100 Aussie. We've just put in an offer of 90 Aussie dollars. And then after that, we have some DDR3 memory. We found some Kingston 16GB kit, and they've got $80 on it, but it looks like there's no interest on it. And when you see something hanging up on the marketplace for a while with absolutely no interest, you can sometimes put in these offers and they might think, okay, if it's cash, just come and get it. So 16GB of DDR3 memory in this current climate, considering how dear DDR3 is at the moment, brand new for unbuffered stuff, I would say that's a pretty solid offer. Next up here, we've got a 32GB kit of DDR3 memory. Now, I put in an offer of 120 Aussie, so we'll see if they get back to us on that, because I am kind of desperate for DDR3 memory right now. I'm running dry. And then we've got a 4770K, and we put in an offer here of 80 Aussie dollars. They're asking 100, so the asking price isn't that bad to begin with. But of course, with a little shave, hopefully we'll save a little bit of money. Then next up here was an Acer desktop, a whole package, monitor, keyboard, mouse, i5, a 4th gen, 8GB of RAM, 1TB hard drive. I just put in asking price of 125 Aussie dollars. And so we'll see what they say with that in the morning. That's a pretty good deal at that price. Like, that's looking pretty good, considering you could just shove in a graphics card like a 1650 and you would have yourself a relatively solid, especially price performance wise, you'd have yourself a really good price performance gaming PC. But anyway, moving on, we've got a user with the name I Don't Know. Very interesting username on Gumtree. And they've got a motherboard, 16GB RAM, and a 2600K for $90. However, they said they haven't really tested it, so they don't know if it works. So initially I threw them an offer of $90. Now they have gotten back to us and they said, look, I know the CPU and the RAM works, I'm just not sure about the motherboard. And I said, okay, I'll take the gamble. What's the best price you can do for us? And they said they'll do it for 60 Aussie dollars. So I'm like, okay, sold. I'll come and pick that up in the morning. So that looks like it's a done deal. And then next up we have here, the last up on good old Gumtree is an A320 motherboard. They're asking 50 Aussie dollars. I put an offer of 40. And so, I mean, it's a no-brainer at that. It's a cheap motherboard. It's a decent one. So we'll see what they say when they get back to us in the morning. Though, moving over to Facebook Marketplace, I managed to find 2 deals here that look pretty decent. First off, a 500 watt power supply. It looks like a Thermaltake 500 watt, even though they don't really show any photos of it. They're asking $25. I just dropped in an offer of 15 Aussie dollars. And this thing will power like, which is the next deal we'll show here, like a R7 370 build. So perfect GPU for this power supply if you got this combo. For this GPU, they're asking 75 Aussie. I put in an offer of 50 small. So we'll see if they get back to us, what they say. So we're gonna let that sit overnight and see how it brews up. But it is looking pretty good. Like, I'm not used to finding this many potential leads in one weekend. Perhaps I have to do the parts hunt a little bit earlier in the month. This is a little bit earlier than I'm used to doing it. I'm used to doing it right at the end of the month. So maybe times are changing a little bit. Anyway, I'm gonna get some good rest, thunder charge up, and we'll get back to it in the morning. And yes, I do have the anti-hunchback device on, because you gotta do it every now and then, right? You don't wanna get a hunchback. You don't wanna start dwelling in Notre Dame. Here we are at the next day, and it is a rainy day, but that rain is not indicative of what the deals are looking like so far, because we had a few people get back to us already, and the A320 motherboard, they said there's no IO shield, so they'll do it for 30 Aussie dollars. And I'm like, cool, I'll take that. And then there was also on Gumtree the motherboard, the 2600K and 16GB of RAM. And they said, look, they're pretty sure the motherboard might not be working. So they'll do the whole combo. There might be someone messaging me with the deal. They'll do the whole combo for 60 Aussie dollars. Anyway, back onto the i7 deal, 2600K, P67 and 16GB of RAM. They're pretty sure the motherboard might not be working. So hence they've done it for 60 Aussie dollars, which I'm gonna take the gamble on that, because even if the RAM all works and the CPU and the motherboard don't, we're still getting a pretty decent deal. So it should work. Anyway, moving over to Facebook Marketplace, I managed to find a couple of new deals this morning, which is what those messages are about. There's an i3-8100, they were asking 70 Aussie dollars. I put in an offer of 50 Aussie dollars. They accepted. So that's, it's a really cheap price. Look, the i3-8100 is nothing special, but a 50 Aussie bucks, I could definitely make a really cheap banger with it, especially considering I'm getting some DDR4 memory, 16GB kit for 80 Aussie dollars. So they messaged me back, they said they'd take 90, I offered 90. And then we've got the R7 370, they messaged us back and they said they'd take the $50. So we've got 5 deals that we're gonna go pick up right now, and hopefully in that time that we're gonna go pick up that, we'll go see Les as well. More of these deals that we put offers down on yesterday will get back to us. And you know, if we've got a spare few minutes on the road, we'll check out if there's any more GPUs available and whatnot, but it's looking so exciting already. Let's get on the phone to Les and see if he's ready to do an early morning special for us. Hey Les, what's going on, mate? What's that?
Not much, old dude.
Yeah. How you been? Like just
No, I've been busy, but I haven't got much stock. I'm just scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Oh mate, ever since COVID started, I think we're all scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, I know. It's not easy, mate. Hey, what about your mate with those SSDs from Green Spot?
Oh, I'll actually give
Green
him.
Dog or the Green Line, whatever he's called.
Yeah, I'll give him a call and see if he's had any word back, eh? So hopefully there's some word, eh? Yeah, because yeah, I think everything's in demand, right? You know, you need SSDs, you need RAM. How are you going with DDR3?
Oh, I just got enough for myself. I happen to buy more.
Yeah, because I got hungry eyes. So.
What do you do?
Yeah, exactly right.
Like everyone wants 8 gig of RAM. You know, what do you do?
Yeah, at least.
That's right, mate. Who wants 4 gig of RAM now? They know it only for a bloody $70 computer or something. $80 computer. I got a couple of them, $80.
Well, I mean, you know, just for me, I only just take a little bit of cream off the crop. You know what I mean? Like I'm just taking a little bit here.
Yeah,
and there,
one of the cream, just scoop it all.
Yeah, it was just like a little scoop. You know what I mean? Like you've got like a 200-liter bowl of ice cream, and I'm just taking just a couple of scoops out. You know what I mean? So I'm enjoying it too. You know?
Yeah, I know. I haven't been eating much, mate. To be honest.
Oh, okay. Like you haven't been eating much.
I can spare you 3 hard drives or something if you need them. Like.
Okay, cool.
You know, at the end of the day, yeah. Like you can buy them off that place in Logan for $15, but half of them are shit.
Yeah, dude, I've found that, eh? Like I've had to take back so many.
Mine are late model and they've been tested and wiped.
Yeah, there's those ones at those guys, man. I've had to take back so many drives to them, eh? Like literally 1 in 3 drives will be screwed.
It's tough. The profit, it's gone then. You spend half an hour by the time you get there and park and go in. And
yeah, that's annoying, that one. I've had some problems with stuff from there, eh? GPUs, RAM. It's like sometimes it feels like they're just taking anything and everything, eh? Like
exactly.
You go.
That's all they're paying.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll
Stinger.
Yeah, okay.
Stinger along.
I'll pop on through on the Stinger, man. I'll pop on through on the Stinger for you.
How many days you got on the Stinger now?
Almost 1,500, yeah. Like I've done quite a few. So anyway, man, I'll
Okay, yeah.
I'll see you soon.
What time?
So we just got back now to the Tech Yeah studio, kind of like an intermittent break before we have to go head out again. We got this A320, $30. I think that's a bargain, 30 Aussie dollars for that. Les threw in some free keyboards, the dirty ones, and some mice, cables, and all that stuff for us. We got 3 500 gigabyte hard drives off him for $50 because he did the keyboards. So I gave him a little bit extra for his drives. And then just a banger power supply, 300 watt for $10. Sure, why not? There was an i3 8100. We got that for 50 Aussie dollars. And then we actually got 5 monitors, and I've already sold one of those, so one of them's already gone. But we got these ones for 40 a pop, the 22-inch Dells. One of them's already gone. And then we got this one for $20, the Lenovo. It's a bit banged up. And then same with this one, this was $30. This one's actually pretty good, but a little bit banged up. And then we got a 19-inch, I got this for 15 Aussie dollars. Then we got 3 PCs over here where 2 of them, I mean, they're all aesthetically like bad, cosmetically damaged, but they've got i5 4590s, 2 of them with 8 gigabytes of RAM, motherboard, power supply. We got them for 90 Aussie each, and then one of them with 4 gigabytes of RAM for 70 Aussie, and that's the one with the real dinged up case. But Les can't use these, so that's why I get them for pretty cheap. So I'm happy because I recase them anyway. But going forward from here, the reason I had to stop off is actually twofold. I've got to sell a PC soon. I've had to do 2 other quick fixes in the meantime. And then I've also got to wait on the guy with the monitor, the 120 hertz IPS panel. I'm waiting on that. Apparently he went out partying last night and he's not going to be back till later. So I'm like, damn, kind of wanted to get that while I was already up in Brisbane, but that didn't happen. And then there's a guy over another side of the town, which is like 40-minute drive, and he hasn't messaged me back. So everything was pointing towards me quickly getting back and doing this other stuff. And then the other guy with the i7 2600 motherboard and 16 gigabytes of RAM, he's really close to the other guy. So it's like I'm kind of trying to make synergy happen, but I don't want to leave it too late because it's already like in the afternoon, about 3 p.m. now. So kind of got to hit the road soon. But in the meantime, what I'm going to quickly do is maybe look for a few deals because I'm waiting for someone to come around and pick up a PC, which one of these monitors will be saying, hey, see you later. Kapow! So we're gonna make this really quick. In between now and me getting back to the studio, there was 2 people who said they wanted Tech Yes deliveries. So I needed to hit that up and I've done that now. And then we've just got the 120 hertz Tempest Overlord IPS monitor. So that's in the boot, 140 Aussie, finally scored that. Now we're gonna go hit up these 2 last deals, the R7 370, I think that's 50 Aussie dollars, and the i7 2600 16 gigabytes RAM and motherboard. So it's time to finish off this parts hunt and get back. But the one thing is, I love the nighttime driving. I've always been a nighttime driver, listening to music. Sorry, the light goes off automatically. And it's like one of my hobbies and passions. So like, this is kind of a bit of fun, a bit of Tech Yes time. But let's get back to the studio. Well, let's go get these last 2 deals, get back to the studio, and finally see what we've got on the table. So after this mammoth day of being out on the road, doing the Tech Yes deliveries and all that, we finally picked up the last deal where it was that motherboard, RAM, and CPU. So we're gonna check out that and see what actually works and doesn't work out of that combo. But for 60 Aussie dollars, man, that gamble is easily worth it. And they also had a Razer keyboard, mechanical switches, and a CPU Cooler Master cooler, which they said they'd do for 40 bucks. And I'm like, yep, throw that in the boot. So now we've just got to get back to the Tech Yes studio. And man, I'm buggered. It's like almost 9 p.m. and I'm still out on the road. I haven't even had dinner yet. So this is, you know what? I wouldn't do it any other way. And here we are the next day, thunder charged, all ready to go. Yesterday was just a mammoth of a day. Like, it was for a Sunday too. I have not worked a Sunday that hard in my life, I don't think. So that was just totally like out of this world. So we've got R7 370. That's the graphics card right there. We're testing it out right now with this monitor. So we're getting a 2-for-1 test here, and they're both working absolutely fine. This PC here, I've got to sell it a little bit later today as well. So that's how clutch it is at the moment around here for graphics cards. I need them desperately. And that one there is working absolutely fine. Really good card. And this monitor is beautiful. I love, and the reason why I love this, the Overlord or these old school Korean monitors, is because they've got the gloss coating on them. And if there's no sunlight in the room, we can quickly show you guys. Take the sunlight out, the colors just start popping through magically. And it's one of the things that I'm a big fan of personally, but we've also got 120 Hertz on this thing, IPS. The screen is absolutely gorgeous, besides these hideous, beautiful bezels around the outside. So this monitor right here for $140 is easily my favorite deal of this month. And then we've got this Razer keyboard. I've cleaned this up. I've given both the monitor and the graphics card and this keyboard some Tech Yes loving and that cooler. And this thing cleaned up really nicely. It looks really good. We got the cooler and the keyboard for 40 Aussie dollars, and it's these scissor switches, so feels really nice. Everything works absolutely fine on this keyboard. And then we've got the last thing to test here, and this is the motherboard with the 2600K and the RAM. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna test this motherboard with just an i5 2400 and some separate DDR3 memory that I know works first. Because this CPU socket had 2 missing pins, and then it had a few more bent pins. And in the process of trying to fix one of the bent pins, it just pretty much fell off. So we've got 3 missing pins on this motherboard now. So, I mean, 3 missing pins, I don't like my chances, but we'll still give it a go. And of course, even if the motherboard doesn't work, but the 2600K works and the memory works, then we're still up big time on this deal. So let's check that out right now. And some really good news now coming out of that motherboard is that it works, and the 2600K also works. Now, I tried testing the memory out, and all 3 of those sticks were giving out the DRAM error message. So one thing about that memory is it could be what's called the high density memory, I think, and that only works with the FX CPUs. This is one thing I don't know yet, and if you guys have sort of like a diagram or some easy way to tell visually how to check between high density and low density memory, that'd be really good. That's one diagram I could use, because some of the writing on the memory chips themselves is all just faded out and blanked out. And so I've got no idea no idea how to tell between low density and high density memory. And I've looked around for some good diagrams on Google and I can't find anything. So basically with the high density and the low density stuff, the low density is the only stuff that works with the Intels. The majority of DDR3 is this stuff. It's just they made these batches of high density stuff, which only works with the AMD FX CPUs. At least that's what I gather. And I've had some sticks here that didn't work on Intel, but then when I've put it on the FX systems, they do work. So you can utilize extra hustle out of that if you can get sticks that people don't think are working, but they only work for FX chips. Kind of like a weird thing going on. But the high density stuff is also generally cheaper on both the used and new market. Though tallying up this month's deals hunt, we just had some really good deals come through here. I mean, 30 Aussie dollars for an A320 motherboard, Asus board, I'll take that. $60 for a CPU motherboard and memory that possibly could work. Keyboard, really nice keyboard with the CPU cooler, 40 Aussie dollars. We got here R7 370, 50 Aussie dollars. Les, he always hooks up nicely with those 3 banged up OEM systems. I can definitely take all the juice out of that and utilize it. We always get a heap of monitors in case you want to do monitor, keyboard, mouse combos. And of course, the cheaper you get them, the better. But of course, Les, I don't really need to check his stuff because he always checks it for me, which is an added benefit of going to Les and buying off him. Some of the other stuff, we've already checked through it all. The Tempest monitor, absolutely gorgeous. And that pretty much tallies up everything here for 815 Aussie dollars. And I mean, in USD terms, that's about 580 USD at the current market rates. So we got absolute bargains. And I mean, in between, we're doing all this hustle and making all this synergy happen. And honestly, it is sometimes I do get burnt out pretty hard, but you just keep going. And I mean, after I clock off this video, I'm gonna go hit the treadmill, keep fit, you know, go eat some sushi and stuff like that. Because you gotta keep yourself on point to stay on point. And that's one thing we do around tech, yes. And I always encourage you guys to do that and stay on point. And one thing, the last deal that I picked up, sorry, there's a phone, someone's coming to pick up a PC soon as well. The last thing as well is when I went last night to get the last deal, the person knew who I was and they were a really nice guy. And they just said, man, you make it look so easy on the videos. And it's not the case, like it isn't so easy, but it's one of those things with experience. If you guys like doing anything in life, starting out is always the hardest thing. Like when I first got into this, when I was first bending back pins with a toothpick, for example, it took me a long time to get the hang of it, but now I can bend pins back in just a couple of minutes with the toothpick. Now, of course, in that sense itself, let's give another example on that. Some people prefer the mechanical pencil, the pacer method, the mechanical pencils. And of course, that's a good method in its own right, but it doesn't work for me. So over the last few years, especially the last few years, I've seen what works for me and I've worked on that. And I don't mind sharing it here on the channel. So if you get into anything, whether it's PC, flipping or whatever, you got to work on you and what works best for you and your methods. So that's just a quick example of one thing that I guess with me differs from other people and how I bend pins back. And you saw in this video right here, the success rate's pretty good. Like I got a board that I thought wouldn't come back to life working again, and it did so very quickly. Another thing on that too is the pricing of your rigs. Of course, you've always got to stay. That's why high turnover works better than making the best ultimate rig that you're going to sit on for a few months, because you're then not susceptible to market changes. But another thing too, speaking of market changes, I did put a few bids down on two 1050 Ti's, and the most I'll pay for them is 140 Aussie dollars. It's a 1050 Ti. I mean, 1650 Supers and 1650s, for example, 1650s go for around 200 Aussie dollars on sale. And that's brand new, and that's a better card than a 1050 Ti. So why would I buy one on the used market for 200 Aussie dollars? Because that's what these people want for them. Why would I buy one for 200 Aussie dollars when I just wait for the 1650 Super deals, not even have to leave my house, get them posted to my door, and I've got warranty on them? So that's a big difference. And another thing too about 1050 Ti's is I've probably had around maybe 25 of them or 20 or something come through the studio. And I'll tell you now, they have a pretty decent failure rate compared to 1060s and 1070s, for example. I've had a heap of 1060s, heap of 1070s come through, and I find the 1050 Ti's fail a lot more than the 1060s and the 1070s ever did. So I'm guessing they use cheaper components in the 1050 Ti, and that causes it to fail a lot quicker. So that's my gripe with paying more than you should for a 1050 Ti. Anyhow, that being said, the last one of them I offered 124, another I offered 144. In both cases, they said it was way too low. It's actually, I think it's a pretty fair price, so I just moved along. Though lastly, speaking of deals that we missed out on, we didn't pick up that DDR4 memory. What happened was I was up around that area, and then I got messaged about someone wanting to come over for a gaming PC, and then I had another thing that I had to get done, so I had to rush back to the studio. And then the guy was going up north or something. He was going way too far away, so that deal just didn't happen, and that was my own bad, but also it just was not fortunate in that the guy had to do something else later that afternoon, and it just didn't work out. And then some other deals that are in the works. There was a GTX 760 that came up for 60 Aussie dollars. I put the asking price in because it's a fair price, and someone else is definitely gonna go snap it up if I don't. So they agreed to that, but I've got to go pick it up. It's near Les's place, so I'm gonna probably try and pay now and get visual proof of it working. Just say, can you send me a photo of it working? and then I'll go pick that up later in the week. And then the GTX 960 4GB, they got back to us for 90 Aussie dollars, so they said yes, and I will go pick that up too. So they're two more graphics cards that I desperately need, and we've bagged and tagged them. So this month's parts hunt has just been pretty epic. I mean, if you always look for the good deals, you can find them. They're out there. You just gotta, I guess, keep looking. Of course, there's the element of luck, but luck will average out if you keep trying. And with all that out of the way, I hope you guys enjoyed July 2020 used parts hunt of the month. If you did, be sure to hit that like button for us. Also, let us know in the description or in the comments below, what was your favorite deal of this month? I think that monitor just brings back memories for me personally. It's a sentimental thing, so I'm going with that. Of course, I think the 2600K and the motherboard and the potentially working RAM, I've got to check that out. That's definitely going to be up there in terms of the value for money deals. Though do let us know, and also let us know if you've been rocking some used parts of your own, what deals you've been picking up. I love reading those comments as always, just like this question of the day here, which comes from Elvar, and they ask, why is disable meltdown protection grayed out? And this happens on either really old CPUs that were never exposed or potentially at risk of meltdown security vulnerabilities, or it's on the AMD Ryzen CPUs as well. I think FX as well too. They're just not susceptible to it, so that's why it's grayed out. There's no point in even enabling or disabling the option there because they're not susceptible to those risks. It's only on the newer Intel CPUs or I guess the ones with hyper-threading and stuff like that. So I'll put the link for that video up here where we tested Spectre and Meltdown updates disabled, enabled, and also on the AMD side of the fence, we had, I think, the Spectre update enabled and disabled. Just that one. We tested the performance before and after. And with that aside, if you guys have stayed this far and you're enjoying that Tech Yes content and you want to see it the moment it drops, sub button's down there, ring that bell, and you get it as soon as it comes in your sub boxes. And I'll catch you guys in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.